All right. Looks like we have quorum. We have some fun stuff to show today, so I'd like to get to it. Rao, are you ready to give the tech update?
Yes, I am. Okay, welcome to Community Update 136. So we have a few significant things we had accomplished this last week. As you know, we've been working diligently on getting the 0926 tested. As of right now, where we are is the mainnet validator nodes are running 0925.3, which had the performance improvement feature that was put in about last week or a few days ago. Where we're now is we are testing a 0925.4 release. One of the main things with 0925.4 is this having a solution to this. You can see from the numbering here on RChain 727, this bug was first discovered back in August 2018, so a little more than 2 years ago. But it was, it would play enough hide and seek, I guess. Basically, people would clean up the state or do something, it'll go away, and then sometimes show up somewhere else. This is related to the LMDB issue that Greg was talking about one or two debriefs ago. So this one, now we have a solution, and that's the one that we are testing. This was reported a few times since August 2018, but because of the dependence on the state of the memory and the what part of the state you're dealing with, it would come in sometimes and was not reproducible. So now we think we finally have a solution for that, and Thomas Lau and nutzipper together, Thomas Lau created that and nutzipper implemented that and is testing that. So we should have that released. In terms of actual impact, obviously it was causing issues in comparison of the last finalized state, was one of the reasons, and it was showing up more often. But also it would hold up the network sometimes, requiring us to bring down the node. So it's good that we have a resolution to this and that we're able to put that in. Of course, we'll watch to see if this issue is recurring anywhere else other than the places where we're fixing it. But we finally think we have a handle on this. So that's what is going out as 0925.4. That 0925.4 should be released. I mean, it's right now in dev, will be released to testnet and then on to the mainnet soon in the next few days. In parallel, we have the main path of work, which is the 0926. So there was 0926 alpha, 0926 alpha 1, alpha 2 were all released. And in the testing of 0926, we are finding and fixing a few different kinds of bugs. Obviously, one set of bugs is from the newly written code, just to make sure that the logic is correct and corrected where we need to, where we discover problems. But the other one is really some of the older code issues are kind of presenting themselves that we are having to tackle. And this is part of the reason why the testing, first of all, is very, very productive. But at the same time is because any testing is going to find bugs and we're having to go back, resolve them, and then discuss and make sure that what we're doing is consistent in all different states and conditions of the chain, and that it would work with epoch changes and all those kinds of things. So that's kind of where we are. But the good news on the whole 0926 release is that we finally think that we're close to be able to say, next week, barring unforeseen circumstances between now and then, we should be able to have the final version of 0926 that we can give it the final test. Where we are, I'm going to skip down in the document a little bit to the in-process section. So Tomislav has written up a gist on the what and how of the last finalized state, how it works. And this is where the mapping of different state changes and the interrelationships or impacts is. And he's also written sample generative tests so that Will and nutzipper can start increasing those or creating more of those. And once those are in, we should have a good handle on where we are with the 0926. And like I said, hopefully we'll have it all baked in by next week sometime, probably late in the week next week. So that's where we are. I talked about the fact that Will was working on an API to request test rev from the testnet. That's implemented, and Ian is going to demo that as part of his voting demo today. And let me see if there is more on the development side to speak to. Some of these other things, I think I spoke to the fork tip calculations performance improvement last week. So we were seeing about a 5x to 6x improvement from where the state of the mainnet was before. So the other couple of things that we're working on, we have the dependencies that we're trying to update in a separate branch, but it's a little bit slow going right now. But once we're done with the last finalized state, we'll take some time to resolve these and make sure that we start with a nice clean version of the updated code base and the dependencies and all that we could use with for the runtime manager refactoring, as well as for the block merge. That's kind of where we are with that. And in terms of dApp development, there has been a lot of activity and intense activity with hackathon planning and execution. We're making good progress there. We expect to have the hackathon registration page ready this week. The hackathon itself is October 10th and 11th. But basically the planning right now is that we expect up to 5,000 or so registrants, and we will conduct 2 levels of testing. We'll have an initial screening test, and then we will probably ask a selected number of people that qualified in the first test to actually demonstrate their ability to do pull requests on some of the issues in GitHub. So with that, we are hoping to winnow down the list down to 50 to 200 participants or so. I think right now that's about all we can handle really from a hackathon, virtual hackathon standpoint, because once we have them in the hackathon, we need to have people on our end being able to support them as they go through it, or as they have questions about Rolang, or what's causing them problems and all of that. So I think basically whatever we learn from this experience is also a great, it sets us up for future hackathons and improved and better and larger hackathons. And depending on the experience here, we might do them regionally, virtual, but regionally or something like that. We'll think about that in future. So that's where we are with the hackathon. And Dan has done significant progress on this on the voting thing, which is what I think Ian is demonstrating today, because Dan is this time doesn't work for Dan. So that I think is by and large my update or the key highlights of what I wanted to say. Then some of the details are here. You can read through this bug, or you can read through the specification for the last finalized state at this gist, if you're able to see my cursor. So that's what I wanted to cover. Are there any questions from anybody? Anything that I can answer now? All right, over to you, Greg.
Thanks so much. I'm very excited about the work that's come along. Nutzipper in particular did some great work over the last few days, finding and fixing a couple of pernicious bugs. So hats off to Nutzipper and the whole team in general. They're just really working very, very hard. I really do want to get to the demo, so let's go ahead and let Daryl give the week in review. Daryl, if you check your email, I sent you the Casper stand-up summary, so you should be able to just paste it in.
Oh, okay. Okay, here, let me try to think fast here. Here I go, checking my email, and I don't see it.
Don't worry about it. I can read it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah. So on the Casper stand-up, mostly because it was Labor Day, just took questions from the participants. So Steve had some questions about the relationship between the sort of equational presentation that I give in the radical fault tolerance work versus the kind of formalism that we use for justifications that we stole from the Abramsky Highland on game semantics. And so we talked a little bit about that. And then we also covered some questions that Tomislav had about the work towards a geometry via logic. So that's the Casper stuff.
Cool. Sounds interesting. It sounds like an extension from the last week. Like
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I am still working on that. So I'll have it hopefully uploaded today or tomorrow. So all you Casper stand-up fanboys and girls will have to wait until then. Okay. So I'll get started with actually last Wednesday, Greg and Christian did an RCast where they explored a logical view on geometry. And you can check that out at blog.rchain.coop. Also last Thursday, the governance committee received a progress report from the nominating committee on the board nominations process. The majority of the meeting centered around the status of an on-chain voting mechanism for the annual general meeting and possible alternatives. Also on Thursday, the DApp developer working group modified Zulip voting bot results and added delete. Last Friday at the climate coordination call, our guests were Manolia Adon and Basil Mafus of Synsapien.org, who are developing a digital platform to help innovators worldwide co-invent technology in large groups. Really amazing group there that are working on very similar parallel ideas as to what RChain is doing. On Saturday, there was an RChat call where they developed sequence diagram for Zulip voting. Let's see, on Monday, there was a blockchain art call. They worked on testnet transaction cache for collecting voting by sending rev dust results. Yesterday, on the RChain education call, they reviewed Lens library and virtual DOM native to ESX. Also yesterday, in the communications working group call, We discussed the coordination with Code Tantra in the hackathon scheduled for October 10th and 11th. We also discussed how to better communicate with the current membership and the current state of the on-chain voting process. As well, yesterday in the DApp developer working group, they developed a script for tallying voting results, given a ballot in JSON. And this morning at Jim's member hangout at 10 a.m. Pacific time, Jim showed the latest RVote work that's been going on, and Raphael announced a new version of Dappy that he may demo in next week's call, which brings us to right now.
Awesome. Any questions for Daryl?
Yeah, when was that you looked at a script for tallying voting results?
That was yesterday in the DApp developer working group.
Oh man, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah. It shouldn't be too hard, right? I mean, all you have to do is to go to the index server and run over the transactions.
Yeah, Dan and I ran the transaction server, and I wrote the shell script that tallies the votes. Probably should do that in JavaScript or.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
But quick and dirty, it gives us all the results, and
Awesome. Very good. Very good. That's great. Well, speaking of which, Ian, are you ready to give a little demo?
Yeah.
Rock on.
Sure, let's do it. So first, hi everybody. So Dan Connolly isn't here just yet. Otherwise, he'd be doing this demo because this is mostly his work. But he might come along later and perhaps answer some questions or take us into some more of the details of what we have. And so for this live demo, I mean, what could go wrong? I wanted to buy Dan a little bit more time by incorporating in this demo the whole, registering a rev address and then doing some on-chain voting. So to make it more fun, I grabbed a handy dandy Ledger wallet, and so we'll be doing this on Ledger to show that we have some compatibility here using a hardware wallet, Ledger with MetaMask, and with a wallet that was built by our own Tomislav Grospik. So let me share the screen and begin. Okay, can everyone see?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so this is the page that Dan developed, where you drop in your governance rev address here. And then here we have a URI, which is a registry ID to a ballot. All right, so I'll get to this in a second. So here's the link to the ballot, and then I would click Get Questions. The ballot appears here, and I submit my vote. But first, let's take a look at Tomislav's wallet. And I'm going to select testnet, and I'm going to connect to my Ledger wallet here. All right, good. So Ledger is selected.
is there a reason you didn't do this on the vote page?
Because I wanted to show the registration of a rev address.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my MetaMask Ethereum address and the equivalent rev address, and I'm just going to give it a friendly name here, Ledger, and check the balance. I have to go back and select testnet. Here we go. Anyone can see what's wrong here?
I've had that issue before, and sometimes just reselecting it will fix it.
Okay, here we go. So it looks like I've got 1.9 rev. Well, let's say I need a little more. So let's use our new new faucet. So I want to send rev from our faucet to this rev address. So I'm just copying this into the buffer. And here's the URL for our faucet. And I'm just going to paste in my rev address. So here, HTTPS status RChain co-op testnet faucet, and the rev address that I want to send 100 rev to. And I'll hit enter, see if this works. There we go. So after a couple minutes, I'll have 100 rev in that wallet. Also, I'd like to register that rev address for voting, for governance. This is the notice of the RChain Co-op annual meeting that I received. All the members should receive this. And I'm going to click here to register my rev address. And actually here it's already registered, but I'll just stick it in again, click submit, and I get a confirmation email. So now I know my rev address is registered with the co-op, and I should be ready to vote. So I'm going to pick an account. It should already be in. Pull up my ballot. Great, ballot is in, and I can vote for board. We've got some new candidates for the board. We've got Wile E. Coyote, Daffy Duck, and Donald Duck, as well as an item of business for member swag, stickers, t-shirts. Okay, so I'm just, I'm going to vote in support of all of these except for, I think I'm going to vote against Donald Duck. Sorry, Donald. And so this has generated a deploy that I'm ready to send to register my vote. And here we have, let's see, for each yes or no vote, there's a different rev address that dust gets sent to. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my vote and sign with MetaMask. Okay, and so my vote has been sent off. I can also look back at my wallet and see if my balance has gone up by now. So I had 1.99 rev, and okay, my 100 additional rev has not yet come in. But we've done our voting and we've registered our rev address. So I don't have a demo of the tallying or scoring on the back end because I missed that meeting yesterday. But I like the way this is put together because it's very transparent. It uses an open source wallet that has, you can dig into the guts of it, and it's a great demonstration of how to implement RChain. And we're also using MetaMask, which is well trusted, and Ledger that has arguably very good security. And actually, I'm seeing on my Ledger that I have to sign the message. So that's why this hasn't gone through yet. So I've got a long message hash on my Ledger hardware device, and I'm signing now. And so this should, here we go. It says deploying. And so in a couple of minutes, the vote should be registered. And if anyone out there has good access to a block explorer or some way to look into testnet, you can see this this vote being registered. So I just want to check back and see if I've gotten my faucet rev yet. There we go. So the faucet has given me 100 rev. That works. So any questions while we're waiting for the deploy to finish?
Would when you signed on your ledger,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't see that. What will we see if we don't use the ledger?
If you don't use a ledger, then you'll just simply click on MetaMask.
Okay.
So I had to click on MetaMask, and then a message came up on my ledger that I had to actually click the buttons on my ledger wallet.
Okay.
You know, as far as how to deploy a ballot, that's actually pretty interesting. In this public repo that that Dan forked off of Tomislav's wallet, he created this this ballot JavaScript that that looks at a JSON object that you can deploy onto onto RChain. And actually, I can do that right now. If I wanted to change the vote, I would simply take this this JSON. So this is everything about our vote: the item of business, Daffy Duck, who I'm voting for, the wallet addresses for yes and no. And I'm just going to copy this and maybe do a little bit of editing of the JSON. So if I wanted to change the candidate from Donald Duck to Mickey Mouse, there we go. I can actually take this JSON, and in Tomislav's wallet, I can do a deploy to the registry. So I can insert this JSON into the registry right here. So where it says my value, this is what I'm going to register. I'll just stick the JSON. I'm going to paste. All right, that's done. And deploy Rolang code. Oh, here we go again. Okay, so I'm signing with MetaMask. And on my ledger, it says sign message. I review the message hash, and I just clicked sign on my hardware wallet. And so here is the deploy.
Did you get the registry name associated with it back?
I will. So it's saying checking result. So when the result comes, I should have a URI that I can use.
Oh yeah, I see it at the bottom there. The text was very small.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
I can make it a little bigger if you like, but it'll.
No, it's okay. I can
screw
see.
other stuff.
Yeah, it just so happens the JSON syntax fits inside of Rolang.
There he is. Okay. Hey, Dan.
Hi.
So we went through a vote. It's still deploying, and I was just demonstrating how to update the ballot.
Yeah, I joined about 4 minutes ago, maybe.
Okay.
Any other comments you want to make, Dan?
There's various issues that lots of people, we could use help with. There is nothing really critical I can see that's going to stop things, but there's various little details that should be attended to.
Well, why don't you say what those are in your view?
let's see. Actually, if you go to, well, I guess I could share my screen for a second.
Okay, sure. I'm dropping now. Oh, we got the URI, by the way.
Oh, good.
So that URI, I can actually drop it into the ballot experiment and run a new election, cast a vote, this time for Mickey Mouse.
Right. But the nice thing is that the ballot is a resource on chain, so
Right.
so it can be meddled with.
Yeah,
As long as
I can share the screen and show that just while Dan's getting ready there.
okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the deployment was successful. I've got a new URI, which is this row ID. It cost me just a little bit of dust. So I'm going to copy this into my ballot experiment page. And so for the agenda URI, I'm going to replace this old ballot that had Daffy Duck.
Donald Duck.
Sorry, Donald Duck, with the new one. And I'm going to click Get Questions. And this time you notice it says Mickey Mouse for board member.
By the way, did you notice the visual hash on the right?
Yes.
So it changed with the agenda URI selected.
Right. So you see like there's a digit 1 in there. If you change the digit 1 to an L, you know, if you add any kind of character and then tab out of there, if you tab, yeah. See, so if anybody tries to spoof the registry URI, you get a very different image over there.
All right. So watch this one change.
Yeah.
Boom.
That was a little bit fun.
All right. I'm going to give it back to you, Dan.
So this is the RV 2020 issues list. There's some stuff about continuous deployment and organization of the repositories that I made a little progress on, and I think Ian, you're looking into the continuous deployment stuff. This is mixed in with some Zulip issues. So there's this co-op critical label, which is, you know, no matter how you slice it, we have to tally the votes. We got to figure out how to do yes/no questions, which Ian just demonstrated this technique. The one member, one vote is pretty clear how it works in this case. Although the tallying thing is, we're still working on. The recent work that Wills and company did on the Explorer made this hugely easier. He's got this tool that collects all the transaction information, and that allows us to tally the ballots in, you know, roughly this much code. We're going to have to deal with a few more corner cases.
Yeah, I've handled all the cases now except for the list of allowed voters.
Okay. Right. Oh, that's kind of an interesting question. In some ways, it would be nifty to have the list of allowed voters on chain, but there's you know, radical transparency on the one end and then moderate privacy on the other. So
Yeah.
Anyway, those are the sorts of issues.
Cool. Well, it looks like we've got a handle on the vast majority of them.
Right.
Very good. Yeah. So what this does is it says we have a mechanism to do governance on chain by the October, and now icing on the cake is to get this integrated with Zulip so we have a slightly more pleasant user experience, but it's not a requirement. It's just icing.
Right. I do have a question. Does anybody know when the ballots should go out and when they're due back?
Yeah. Let's see. What did we? Last year, I think we put them out just a few days before they were due.
So the election begins on October 21st and closes 12 a.m. Pacific on October 24th.
Okay. There we go.
Thanks.
So we've got more than a month.
Sorry, that's not the ballot goes out. That's the sorry, voting begins on October 21st.
So the
Right,
ballot might be available sooner, but at a minimum, it has to be done by the 21st.
Right. So as soon as the board can get that done, then we'll publish it.
because as you just demonstrated, once the ballot goes out, it's on chain, and everybody has to agree on that ballot URI, right?
Yes.
Right.
So that's kind of
but that can be the ballot URI can be published in well-known places in Discord.
right. It's just you don't want to have it changing, 5 minutes before,
No, it'll be a board decision. All the board members will have to vote to affirm that ballot.
Right. So like, when's the last board? So anyway, you can see how that's something I've been tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be really cool to have the ballot URI in a board minutes.
And this year, it looks like they're going to be three seats and more candidates than there are seats. So the two candidates with the most votes would get 3-year board seats, and then the candidate who received the third most votes would receive would get a 2-year board seat.
Right. Cool.
So, now, are we going to have the, put in the ballot, like a URL to find out about the candidates or the item?
Yeah, we can include links. I mean, that fits nicely in the JSON, and each balloted candidate will have a candidate statement, and I'm sure they'll be doing some campaigning as well.
You can see
Any other questions or comments about this?
Oh yeah, right here. So if you,
I guess one of the things that is worthwhile noticing is that this is all built around this basic ability, which is that you can store data on chain, and that the content is addressable, and it's addressable in multiple ways. So one of the things that Dan is doing is returning a URI that's associated with the ballot, as an example. Another approach that's more sophisticated, of course, is the DAPI approach, where you provide more familiar path-like gadgets to address content that's stored on chain. But all of that depends on the fact that the chain is essentially a big key value database. And all of the accesses to the key value database are controlled via Rolang. So it's very, very straightforward to build applications. Dan, just out of curiosity, how long did it take you to do this dust thing?
it was basically working in one day.
Yeah. This is the point.
Yeah, you can now build a static page of JavaScript that goes and deploys code and does interesting stuff in an afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is very much what we would like people to begin to understand. And everything else moving out from here is largely just performance improvements and security improvements. The functionality of the chain is in place, and people can really code to their heart's content, and sort of the sky's the limit in terms of the sort of the kinds of applications that it can support.
Yeah, and the key value store, what you can store there, I mean, other blockchains you can store like a string or a bunch of bytes. You get to store these hugely rich data structures, like persistent data structures, sets and maps and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And using JSON as a basic mechanism makes it more easy to integrate with the outside world.
Right.
Because a lot of the outside world, uses JSON to as a transport and communication medium.
Yeah, I was just looking at this other blockchain. It's got proof of stake, and they're talking about their key value store and stuff, but they can't store code. There's no smart contracts. It's like, man, if there's one thing we've learned recently is you want to have the code near the data.
Indeed, and that's really the essence of our space is being able to store data and code. So, yeah. Great. Any other questions or comments from the community?
I just have one comment, Dan. I thought that the visual image of the hash was a nice little touch that you added. So thanks for adding that.
You're welcome. Yeah, I had fun with that.
Very good.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that starting off this week, we were kind of contemplating the idea of abandoning this for this AGM and reverting back to Election Buddy, and here we are now. So I'd just like to thank you, Dan, for bringing it back.
Yeah, I don't know where I got a wild hair somewhere, but anyway.
I would love to see the functional cryptography candidate still in the running. I think a lot of us are, the bar to cross is that it's open source. I don't think anyone in the community is willing to put private key stuff into a code base that's not open source. Regardless of whether the code has warts or not, open source is more important than cleanliness. So I would love to see that the functional cryptography as a candidate that's still in the running. It has some very interesting features as well.
Yeah, the number of this is definitely the simplest thing that could possibly work, and there's all kinds of fun stuff to do on top of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just want to make sure that we've got a fallback position, and the fancier that we can make it, that where fancy equals real important features. The better. So.
Hey, just a suggestion for folks: when you register a rev address with the co-op, a rev address for this governance function, it's a good idea to not have millions of rev at that address.
Yeah, I think from an operational security perspective, I wouldn't use the rev address. The rev address that I'm using for governance would not be the one I'm using for financial stuff. So for sure, let's.
And if you want, if you want to be private about your voting, you don't want to use rev address that people know you have.
And you can go in and update the rev address that you have on file with the co-op all the way up until a few days before the vote, when we will freeze the ability to make that update.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, because mine is in screenshots all over the place now.
All right. So we're about 12 minutes before the hour. Any other questions or comments from the community about anything that we've talked about today?
I just made one comment about the voting, which was the advantage of using the dust method of voting, is that if somebody looks at the ballot example, okay, and they want to vote without any software at all, they can just send dust with any wallet to the yes address or the no address for any of these things. They don't have to use any software.
Indeed. Yeah, that's
A plus.
yeah.
Okay.
The trick for did you run the tally script?
Yeah, this is the tally. This shows us the number of votes, and it's in progress here. So I check afterwards to see if somebody voted both yes and no, and then I find out which is the most recent vote they made, and I use that.
Okay.
I correct the vote, correct it based on multiple votes and remove duplicate votes and all that. So
Awesome. That's great.
it's a good model anyway. I mean, it could be used, but I think it's a shell script probably isn't the right way to present it.
Well, it's a very I mean the dust method, I have to say, is a very process algebraic way of doing things, right? It's just that's why I proposed it. Was just it translates directly into Rolang. Exactly what to do there, and and it's a design idiom, a programming idiom that harkens back to a lot of the kind of a process algebraic network protocol designs that were at the beginning of the process algebra research. Right. So that idiom is very old and well understood. Not going to get a lot of surprises there. Okay, well, thanks to all for a very engaging conversation today. There are some updates for the community for the closed door session on Friday, so we'd love to talk about those. Please, if you haven't registered your web address, do register your web address. And with the we're going to do a crowdsourcing on the coding questions for the elimination round in the hackathon. So if you have some favorite JavaScript pearls or favorite Scala pearls or what have you, start emailing those. You can email them to me just with the title hackathon. So lgreg.meredith@rchain.coop with the subject hackathon coding questions, and that will I'll start collecting them. So don't be shy. We want to give these folks show them a good time. So let's collect a lot of fun questions. I'm sure there's a lot of talent in the community here where we can give them a run for their money. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Talk to you on Friday, if not before.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.